Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Do you want some coffee, Mr. Dolly?
Do I? Yes, have some.
Yes, have some.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Yes Have Some podcast. My name's Craig Goldberg. Welcome to the show. For those of us here on YouTube filing in, you're late. No, you're right on time. Thanks for being here. Every Monday, you can catch us live, but whether or not you're watching us live or after the fact, we appreciate it. We got a special guest joining us tonight, talking about one of our favorite subjects. Cannot wait to get into it. We'll get going here in just a minute, but let me check in with my co-hosts. Jacob Walsh, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Been working on getting the collection room all cleaned.
Nice.
And I got a pack tonight, so I can head out to G Fest tomorrow. And yeah, just trying to not be home as much as I can.
Okay, well, it's a good time for that.
Mm-hmm.
Are you excited about G Fest?
I am. First G Fest. I'm excited. It's gonna be good.
That's crazy that this is your first G Fest.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's always hard to go because of Comic-Con.
Right.
They're so close together, but couldn't miss it this year.
Very cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's dedication.
Abigail, how are you?
I'm doing well. Got my cup here for drinking liquids out of. I've also got a little guy next to me here.
I'm so jealous of that.
Yes,
I want that.
know, dude. I was so excited to show this off in my Instagram.
You guys are gonna have to
story.
pick me
You
one
guys
up
are
when you
jealous.
go see when you guys go see Superman. You're gonna have to grab me one of those.
Yeah, we do.
So, Abby, for our audio listeners, I'm like I'll give a play-by-play of what Abby just showed off. A cup, a Jaws 50th cup
Yeah,
from
like-
AMC Theaters.
a rubbery, grippy one with
It's cool.
The poster on the front. It's very cool.
And then the Jaws popcorn bucket, one of the popcorn buckets, the Bruce head. There's another one. There's a couple out there.
There's a couple.
There's a shark.
That's the best one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Abby, what did you do today? I saw you were putting stuff in it.
I was playing music out of.
Oh yeah,
this.
you had your phone in it.
I
Yeah.
put my phone inside and was like using it as a speaker, which was really cool.
It's a multi-purpose
Shark head.
Shark head.
Mhm.
So anyways, guys, listen, we have technical difficulties be damned. We're having a couple issues with audio and video, but we can't worry about that because we have a special guest tonight. And I'm super excited to bring him back. He's been on the show before. He's a friend of the channel, a real life friend and a YHS podcast friend. He's going to be talking about his brand new documentary, The Farmer and the Shark, which we've talked a little bit about over the last couple weeks. I'm excited to get the lowdown, and I'm really excited just to catch up with him because we only talked to him for like 4 seconds before we started. We didn't have the proper catch up time. So let's go ahead and bring him on. Our guest tonight, John Campopiano. Here he is. Oh, he's got binoculars. Very cool.
Hey.
Cool.
Did you figure out the before you logged on, or we briefly talked, you were asking what the touch-up feature was. Did you figure that out yet?
I'm afraid to touch it.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. I'd rather not know. We don't have to know everything in life. I think the
That's
mystery
true.
is better.
Yeah.
Right. That's part of the problem of society today. Everybody's looking for answers. We just need to stop. Just accept
like-
everything for
Yeah.
how it is and just move
Radical
on.
acceptance.
That touch-up button is too close to like the substance. You know what I mean? You do it, you like it,
Yeah.
you get addicted to it.
That's right.
There you
Mhm.
go.
Yeah. you can't
All
get it
natural,
again.
baby.
We are all natural here at YHS, and we're excited that John's here. So, John, you've been on the show before, but for our new listeners and viewers and people who maybe don't know who you are, why don't you introduce yourself properly? I was going to do it, but there's no way I'm going to do as good of a job as you are.
Can you do it? And then I'll.
He's so lazy. That's such a lazy thing.
Why don't you do
I'm a
it?
podcast host, and
Fine.
I'm
Fine. I'll do it. I'll do it. John, you are what the industry would call the leading voice in documentary filmmaking. The industry said that. Did they not? Did they not? John, you're an incredible creator and director.
Mhm.
You've made some incredible documentaries. You've tackled subjects that are very near and dear to our heart. Cult film, Pet Cemetery, Stephen King's It, and you're also a Jaws fanatic. You are one of, like, I know, like, the 3 or 4 biggest Jaws fans in the world happen to revolve around our life and our circle. You are one of them. You are somebody who I'm going to keep this intro going for as long as possible. You are taking it upon yourself to not only document from a historical perspective the history of this incredible film, but also with this documentary, telling brand new stories. And I think that's kind of where I wanted to start with our conversation tonight. Farmer and the Shark, give us kind of the elevator pitch and like where this idea came from, because it's the 50th anniversary of Jaws, and now's the time to do it. But how long have you been even working on this thing?
Well, the current incarnation of Farm and the Shark kind of started years ago with a different project that went through its own, kind of storied history and roller coaster ride. But the heartbeat of what the entire team always wanted to tell was sort of the untold story of the many locals on the vineyard that stepped up and helped make the movie possible. It's no secret that when Hollywood showed up, they didn't anticipate tides and boats and how to work on the open ocean and what it would what it would take to deal with like the local bureaucracy of Martha's Vineyard and, zoning and permits and you name it, it goes on and on. And within that fabric of that story, there are many, many unique stories, and kind of a lot of them are untold. And so the heart of what has become the Farmer and the Shark was always rooted in telling these sort of untold stories of locals that did extraordinary things and who were extraordinary people. And so out of what the project has become and how it's evolved over the years, we sort of identified this story of Craig Kingsbury, who was a local stonemason and fisherman and farmer, who was hired to sort of shadow Robert Shaw in his development of Quint. And there's so much more to Craig Kingsbury than just that. And so that's what this documentary is hoping to tell.
That's awesome, man. Thanks. Yeah. So we're gonna get into like the nitty gritty on it, and we'll answer all the questions people are gonna want to know, like where they can watch it and all of that here in a little bit. I'm just glad there's a documentary about somebody named Craig. Let's just keep Craig alive. It is a dying name. I found a Coke Zero with my name on it yesterday, and it was like finding gold. I was like, this is so rare. But just a little advocacy for my birth name.
There's probably
dying.
A lot of Craigs out there.
Dude, it is.
Well, and Abby's last name is Gardner, right?
It is.
So, Ben Gardner, there's some synergy here.
I like to think there's some sort of a distant relation.
Wow, Jake, where's your connection to the franchise?
Barrel?
Oh, yeah, your last name's Barrel. I remember.
Yep. Jacob Barrel.
So before we get into it, because I think, John, we are so immersed and involved in the Ghostbusters fan community. And I think a lot of times people who aren't necessarily familiar with that go, what do you mean fan community? Like, what does that mean? And I think sometimes people are surprised to find out that there are like Star Wars or Star Trek level fandoms that follow, it's not just Marvel and DC and Star Wars. Like a movie like Jaws is genuinely accepted as one of the great films of all time, but there's also like this subculture of collectors and historians. So how did you initially kind of get involved into that world? And then I'm going to ask Jake the same question.
Okay.
Which I'd love to hear about, because I don't think I know that story from Jake. But it started for me. I mean, I was a fan since I was a little kid.
Right.
And I've told this story to friends before that, I used to rent Jaws and Jaws 2 on VHS all the time. And I remember going into Maximum Video, which was the place near my house. And I remember the guy pulling my parents aside and saying, you would save money if you just bought this VHS for him. Right. I think they just felt so badly for my parents coming in, like, week after week renting the same movie, and just buy it for this kid. So it's kind of started for me around, when I was a little kid. And then in terms of the fandom and the community, I mean, it was Jaws Fest 2005 when I went to the Vineyard, and I had this kind of a crappy T-shirt made. You know, the little kiosks in the mall, like in the center of the mall, where they'll like put anything you want on a hat or a T-shirt.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
And I had this little Polaroid of my collection, and he put it on a T-shirt, and I was like, I'm going to wear this the entire weekend. I don't really know. I don't remember why. I don't know that it was an attempt to meet other people. I think maybe I was just proud of what I had amassed over the years, and I just wanted to be a part of whatever was happening. And so it ended up meeting Jim Beller, who's become a dear lifelong friend and a producer and an important part of this documentary, and met him that weekend via that T-shirt. And then it's just, since then, it's just been lifelong friends, Jacob included. I mean, it's, you know, taken on a different life of its own, as you guys can totally understand, given your, you know.
I love that. I love that you had a picture of your collection. That was the thing that brought relationships into your life, because I definitely identify with that. Like putting our toy collections on Instagram. That's how I found people. So I think that's
Hear
awesome.
that, kids? Before Instagram, you had to put it on a T-shirt and just wear it around
At the mall.
You had to go to the mall, pay $20, which was like nothing.
No,
Right.
2005. Shit.
So,
I remember that. I love those kiosks at the mall. You get like a airbrush T-shirt or No Limit Records chain. You could just really do it up at the mall.
It's like, do you want rhinestones on that T-shirt? Like, no, just the Jaws photo's fine. Like, I'll just go home with that. It's good.
Yeah. I always had the one from Panama City that it's just like a silhouette of a guy playing basketball, and it just says basketball. It's like, wow, this guy's serious. Jacob, what how did you, well, like, yeah, what is your history in the Jaws fandom, but also how did you initially get John on your radar?
Well, I mean, obsessed with Jaws, you know, just like John from childhood, watching it at too young of an age. But I remember when I kind of first got on Facebook, and, you know, like Facebook groups become a thing, and people like join I remember joining a Jaws group, and there were, and I mean, even before that, I was on, I don't even remember the name of the website, but there was a John knows it.
Was it Jaws Movie? Because JawsMovie.com, I think if Jim were here, he would correct me. JawsMovie.com, I think.
Yes. And I used to buy stuff off of people on that website, and you know, that's where you learn a lot of stuff. It's the same with like Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
you know,
it's the
these
same
early websites. But then on Facebook, I remember that's where I found out about Memories from Martha's Vineyard coming out, and I was like, oh, I'm buying. I have to get this. So I bought it, and then found out there was going to be like a book signing on Martha's Vineyard, and I was like, oh, I have to go to this. But I remember at the time being like, I can't afford this. I can't go. And somebody in the Jaws group, Donna, John, you know Donna?
Yep. Donna Honig, yeah.
Donna was like, hey, you can crash on my floor. Come to Martha's Vineyard. Don't miss this. And I was like, oh, okay. And like, I don't really know her, but she's super nice. She's like, gets me on the phone. I'm talking to her. She's like putting Paul McPhee on the phone, who at the time I thought was great. And, you know, just like, I'm like, oh, there's Jaws people here. I'm meeting them through the internet. So then I go to Martha's Vineyard for the book signing. That's where I meet Jim. John, I believe our paths crossed, but we didn't really.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I knew of you sort of from the website and just from the internet, and being like, oh, he's one of the big Jaws guys. Because I've seen collection. It's like you see certain people over and over, and I'm like, oh, that's one of the guys. And
he's one of the guys.
He's one of the guys.
I love that.
You know, like you start meeting people, and that was it. And then after that trip, you know, you're talking. You know, you make friends on that trip, and then the Jaws Fest came not long after that. What year was that? Oh, was that the 2005 Jaws Fest?
The first one?
No, the second one. When was the second one?
I think 2012.
2012, right. So then I went back for that. And then got to meet people a little better, and that was my second time on the island. So yeah.
That's always funny. Abby, we kind of have a similar thing with Ghostbusters, and specifically you, Jacob, we've talked about it a lot. But this weekend, actually, I don't know why I'm holding this. This weekend, it's my pointing Sharpie. Abby found a digital camera in one of our drawers that I completely forgot existed, that has a ton of pictures from like Dragon Con 2011, 2012. Wow. We have a bunch of pictures of the Ghostbusters in the parade. We're not in it. hey, none of the pictures are very good. Can't really make anything out. But I was like, oh, I wonder if Jake's gonna be here. But that's cool. Like that's awesome that you were able to kind of like get involved. And then obviously you guys have formed a friendship. And John, we've had you on the show, and it's just awesome that
Mhm.
if you think about that 2012, like that's 13 years ago already. So
Yeah.
now you're taking it. It is kind of what John was alluding to earlier. Like you just keep doing stuff and you don't slow down and you keep brainstorming projects and putting projects in motion. John, where do you get the entrepreneurial / obsession to get these things done? Because not everybody has it. And I have a feeling we're kind of like you in the sense that like foot's always on the gas, always brainstorming the next thing. And once we have an idea, we're trying to get it going before we've even thought about how. I know you have that. Where does that come from?
I don't know. I'm trying to work this out with my therapist, which is it was a real statement. I don't know where it comes. I don't know where it comes from. I mean, I like lists. I'm like nuts about lists. I love checking stuff off lists. I love feeling like I'm being proactive, getting stuff done. I think I can trace that back to like my first job out of college when I worked for this like very eccentric jazz musician who he had those little yellow golf pencils like in every pocket of every piece of clothing he had. We would be out to dinner and he would think of something like for an album, whatever he was doing, he'd write it on a napkin, like whatever it was. He was just always turning. And like I worked for him very closely for like 5-6 years. And I think a lot of that rubbed off.
Mhm.
And then yeah, I don't know where it comes from, but I like creating. I like sharing what I'm passionate about with other people, and I think all of that has started to gel over like the last decade into like the film stuff, because I'm doing it with a full-time job and a family, and I've had colleagues be like, how do you juggle all of it? And I honestly don't know. I mean, I just do it. You guys do it.
Just do it.
I just
Yeah.
do
You
it.
just
I
do
don't
it.
know.
Makes
I don't
People ask
see
me
it.
that all the time. How do you do it? And I'm like, I don't know any other way. I know that my anxiety peaks when I'm not working on something. So
Yeah.
again, conversations for the therapist, but
Yeah.
but that is like also that's a common trait amongst creators. I don't think
Sure.
I think what you're describing is something people will be able to. I mean, Abby, I know you can relate
Totally.
to some
Yeah.
of those things. So
Yeah, absolutely. The drive, the desire to create, and like the creative process in and of itself, it can be like a roller coaster type of thing, which I myself am also in therapy as a result of doing a creative type of job. So I totally understand.
Mhm.
And I support you, dude. It's awesome.
I think for this, just as like a quick, like an aside, like I think with
Yeah.
this specific project, because it started so long ago, I mean, it started, and Jim Beller was involved and Rick DiGregorio, who's a writer of ours, who's been around since the beginning. This started in like 2017, 18. And the goal was always to have it ready for the 50th,
right.
which always felt like a target that was like miles and miles down the road. And then we're here. So like now it feels like the last 14 months is like, this has got to get finished. And we want this project to sort of be seated at the table with all the other great Jaws stuff happening around the 50th. So
Yeah.
that put a kind of a clock on it that I hadn't really
Right.
experienced before. Which is good and bad. I mean, we all love deadlines, right? You need a deadline often, or otherwise they just kind of,
You just don't do it.
they just, you can tinker with something forever. So it's great to have a deadline, but it also adds a lot of pressure. So
Yeah, and I think for something like this, it luckily, like obviously documentaries have been around forever, but it kind of feels like we're living in a time where the general public and the general movie going public and like the average person who sits at home and fumbles through Netflix, documentaries are being consumed and appreciated in a way that's a lot more. It feels like if you something from the 70s or 80s, like, oh, a documentary, ooh, how highbrow of you to be watching this. But now, like, I mean, I know me when I'm going through one of those channels, I'm always looking for like a real subject to dig into.
Yeah, human beings are conditioned to do a deep dive. So I think that this kind of stuff is what they want.
Absolutely. But are you finding that like with your projects, are you seeing a lot of like reaction, and is it different now than maybe it was 10 years ago?
I think within like the genre, like film documentary space, it's definitely exploded. I mean, I think when we did the Pet Cemetery doc back in like 2012, there was Never Sleep Again, the Nightmare on Elm Street. There was
Mhm.
like the
Oh,
Friday the
that's like
13th.
the 6-hour one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that.
but they were
Yeah.
just a handful, and
Right.
I think like Scream Factory wasn't a big thing yet, or maybe a thing where you were accustomed to not just getting your favorite film on Blu-ray, but like a second disc packed with all kinds of stuff. Like I
Right.
think
Mhm.
that hadn't really exploded yet. So, in the 15 years since then, definitely. My day job at Frontline, I work for PBS at Frontline doing documentaries in that space, which is so different, but also is doc film. Like, it seems to be a thirst for that kind of stuff too. I think to your point, like going on social media, I think true crime has exploded in a way that didn't exist a decade ago, and
Oh yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
so yeah, and I've always been into that. I think I didn't realize it at the time, but I've always sort of been interested in just like human stories, and um, so yeah, it's great that there's an explosion because that means there's an interest in it. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and an audience, hopefully.
Oh, this is going to be awesome. So what up?
I said definitely. Like
There's definitely an
you have one
audience.
here for sure. I'm
I
excited.
kind of want to see a documentary of the documentary. Like you guys have the deadline trying to work towards the 50th. Like I want to see that behind the scenes. That would be
Uh,
fun.
Careful what you
Uh,
wish for.
Okay. Okay, we won't. So we talked a little bit about it. Jacob, I kind of I think we have a unique perspective here because obviously you have a expert level knowledge of the movie. And everybody who watches Jaws knows Ben Gardner and knows, you know who he is, you know about his severed head, but like how familiar do you think you or the Jaws fans or general public are with Craig Kingsbury's story at all? Or do you think this is like pretty much untapped territory?
Well, I mean, some of it. I mean, a lot of the stories, are pretty personal to him. But I mean, everybody knows. Not everybody, but Jaws fans do know that he was a local, and
Right, right.
he was hired for the way he was, and to kind of, like John said, for Robert Shaw to kind of shadow him. But that's kind of it. You know
It's
what I
kind of
mean?
where
Like
it ends, right?
that's sort of, like you could do some digging maybe, and some people know a little more. But that's like what they put forth usually anytime they talk about Craig.
Okay. John, this is a really cool picture here. This is on one of the promo shots here.
It's
Yeah.
very cool. Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Is the name of that cat revealed in the documentary by any chance? Because I just want to know.
It's not. I just learned it's not, but we may
Okay.
be able to change that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We that's our only feedback.
I mean,
we
we're not
haven't
going to
seen
get an
it.
interview. We're not going to get an interview with it.
Oh,
Right.
makes sense.
But
Damn.
yeah, it was one of many, many, many that Craig's family had over the years. Not so
Okay, they're a cat family. That's awesome.
they're an animal family. I mean, yeah, they had you name
Yeah.
it, turkeys, peacocks, you name it. Yeah.
So, John, take us back. Like you start kind of like you have this germ of an idea for a Jaws documentary, and you're going to focus it on Craig Kingsbury. Are you at that point? Are you just trying to contact family, friends? Like, what is the process of starting to like dig in and say, okay, we're going to do this. This is where we start.
Well, the process was kind of like square peg round hole because we had a project prior to this and had been collecting interviews for years with the hope of telling a bigger story, a multi-part doc drama series.
Okay.
And that did not come to fruition. And so we sort of sat with all of this footage and said, well, we want something should come from all of this footage. And so I sort of, with one of the other writers, Rick, we sort of went back to the transcripts and said, well, what's the story within all of this? I mean, 50 interviews, hundreds of hours of footage. What's the story within all of that material that we can extract and tell in a way that's manageable and interesting and different for for Jaws? And we had interviewed Kristen Henshaw Kingsbury, Craig's daughter, who is wonderful and eccentric in a lot of the similar ways that Craig was. And so there was just sort of a light bulb moment of like, okay, this is the story. We can still sort of touch on the heartbeat of the original idea, which was the local impact on the movie, but tell it through the lens of Craig's life story, which was extraordinary and crazy. And so at that point, we had all of these interviews. They were sort of shot for something a little bit different. So it was a matter of looking at everything that we had and said, okay, what are we missing? What could we use more of? And then going back into production for a year or so to capture more stuff and then try to weave it together. And it has taken a village. You know, it's not just me by any stretch. So it was an unconventional way of putting a story together. I'd never been a part of something like that before. You know,
Right.
you have a story, you go out. You know, the interesting thing about non-scripted stuff, documentary film, is that you sort of have an idea of what you want to do. You get the stories, and oftentimes those change based on what you get and what you learn.
Right. The story kind of evolves, and it sometimes goes in directions you couldn't have possibly planned or predicted.
Yeah, I think about it like archaeology. There's a great movie, Jurassic Park. You guys should check it out.
Abby, we
where
write
like
that down.
the story is in there, and like you kind of just go and find it, and it in many ways
dig it out.
Dig it out.
So
I get it.
that's kind of like what this was. And so it was sort of like taking pre-existing material, new material, finding the story and trying to tell it in a clear and fun, cohesive way. So unconventional. I mean, nothing I've ever done before was put together like this. So
that's awesome. Yeah. And there's been Jaws documentaries, but like a lot of the mainstream documentaries that get made about, you know, movies and franchises, they mostly touch on the same stories, the same anecdotes. Like even like I haven't had a chance to watch the new Jaws 50 doc, and I'm sure it's great, but it's like I think that's what's special about what you're doing is that it's a new kind of like looking at it through a different
it's a little
lens.
more specialized, you know, it's a little more like, it's a little more hyper focused on something that most people have like zero clue about,
right?
But still being a Jaws documentary.
No, I think that's really cool, John.
I've been referring to it as Jaws adjacent.
Yeah.
So like I kind of come from the world of retrospective documentaries. So like here's a cult film that people love. Let's tell everybody how it's made. And we did that with Pet Sematary. We did that with It. But then I feel like I kind of started to move away from that organically with Snapper, a short doc that Jacob worked on with me, where it was like about these guys that just tried to make this movie like on a credit card and didn't make it, but really fucking tried to make it. And the story was not that they didn't make it. The story was the journey of how they tried to make it and who these guys were. And I think I'm really attracted to that story and that approach of like, I mean, you guys love Ghostbusters, Jurassic. There must be so many amazing personal stories that are just out there that aren't about like, how did they make the movie? But like, who are these incredible people? And Jaws is no different. I mean, I've said to Jacob before and to Jim Beller too, like, I want to see a Verna Fields documentary, right? The editor on Jaws, Mother Cutter, as they called her. She won the Academy Award for it. Like, went on to have a even bigger career after Jaws. Like, there's an untold story. It butts up against Jaws, but it's not a Jaws making of. It's Jaws adjacent. So that's kind of what I'm hoping we're doing with this. You know, that there's something for not just Jaws fans, but a lot of other people.
Right. I think about how many productions over time have just gone and, you know, taken over a town, and like there's a ton of story. Even when the new Twister movie came out, even though Jacob swears it doesn't exist, and I think I'm basically there with him.
It exists.
There was some stories that came out about the first Twister, and locals talking about what it was like for this small town in Oklahoma to have a movie production show up. It's you know, one time only for those 6 weeks in 1995. Bill Paxton lived in our town. Who'd he see? What happened? So yeah, totally. I definitely see the interest there. What's the reaction been like, by the way? Or you think people are getting, because like, I know we've been talking about it, but like you're so connected. You feel like people are ready to finally watch this thing?
I think people are curious about it. I think they're excited. I've been so heads down and just finishing it.
Right.
Even with like the festivities on the vineyard, I went for an afternoon. I didn't go like for the whole weekend or the whole. I'm working on it every day. I mean, I'll sign off with you guys and go work on it after I talk to
Right.
Isabella. And I mean, there's so much to still do to get it finished and ready for August that I don't have a super clear perspective on what people are thinking or saying. But I mean, I think people are genuinely curious about
Sure.
what this is. So hopefully between now and then we can, drum up more sort of buzz
Yeah.
for it.
And where will people be able to watch it?
So right now we're pretty much focused on like theatrical screenings, like getting it shown in New England. So we have our big sort of premiere at the Martha's Vineyard Museum on August 19th. And then a couple of days later in Westerly, Rhode Island, at the United Theater, which is like co-sponsored by the Living Sharks Museum, which is a great museum that our friend Keith runs. And then it'll have a Boston premiere at the Coolidge Corner Theater. And there's some other screenings lined up for the Cape and for Maine. And starting to pretty much tomorrow, I'm going to start looking at like what distribution can look like, because a lot of people have been reaching out saying, hey, I'm not in New England. How can I see this? And so we're just spinning all the plates, trying to figure out, how to get it in front of people, especially before the end of the year, if we can.
Sure. Cool. All right. So Jacob, you worked a little bit on this thing. Talk about the artwork.
You worked a lot of it.
I did.
A lot of it.
I did. John hit me up and asked me if I would be up for doing some art, and I was. And I did a lot of as it's a documentary and they're telling stories, and John's used a lot of photographs and video and all kinds of stuff, but here and there needed a little bit of supplemental photos and stuff like that. So I got to draw Craig Kingsbury a lot.
I bet you've been practicing though.
It's great. Life. Yeah, I can draw him now pretty good.
That's funny.
We've been super fortunate to have Jacob involved, and he helped out in a similar way on Snapper. And one of the challenges about a Jaws doc is that there's so much out there. There's been so many documentaries. There's obviously Jim Beller and Matt Taylor's book Memories from Martha's Vineyard. There's a lot of behind the scenes content out there. So one of the challenges that I hadn't encountered, especially with Pet Sematary and It, where there was nothing really out in the public about, making of stuff.
Right.
What can we find that's new? And fortunately, we're in a position where we have a lot of new stuff that no one has ever seen before, not just photos, but footage. That being said, there are still moments in the narrative that we just don't have anything to show. That's where Jacob has come in and been super valuable. To help us in an artistic way create moments that we can show on screen that we otherwise don't have any other footage or materials for. So
right,
yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Jacob, how challenging was that then?
Well, I mean, it's been fun just kind of like getting to listen to some of these stories, and John will give me the direction of like, okay, this is what this is what we need to visualize, but I get to like listen to the story get told or whatever, and figure out like what that looked like, and it's all been pretty fun and interesting, and just like kind of out of my normal wheelhouse of as far as like art goes, but it's been it feels like it's like stretching my abilities and kind of like a learning experience, but it's also like, well, I'm getting to contribute to something that is brushing up against like my favorite thing in the world. So and good friends with John, so like it's been a lot of fun. I've been very, very happy to contribute, and just in a small way. So yeah,
nice.
I'll say one fun aside in relation to Jacob's work that stands out for me is, and it's not a spoiler because there's no context for this, but it wasn't lost on me that I went to Jacob and asked him to draw sheep intestines, especially as a vegan. There's a reason, there's a good reason, but I did feel weird about it. So anyway, when he says that he went to sort of new territory for himself, yeah, that's for sure.
I get it. I get it.
You do what you got to, yeah. Things you love.
one of my favorite ones we did.
I just thought it was weird that you specifically called me and asked me to get you some real sheep intestines
Craig,
so you could have them at
That
the
was
house.
yeah.
I need some intestines. I need you to not ask any questions. I'm under
Give
an
me my
NDA,
doorstep.
but I need some sheep intestines.
I
I
was like,
literally
all right.
didn't know. Hey,
Weird that I know
literally-
exactly how to get those, but okay.
I was like, John, I Googled that stuff because I was like, what does a sheep stomach look like? And I still just kind of made it up, but I was like, we'll
I think I said like,
blood on
don't send me. You were going to send me the pictures you found. I was like, I'm
Please
good.
don't. I don't
Just-
think that's funny.
I trust your.
It was
slam,
really. I was very nervous to look it up. I was like, please just give me like. I tried to
A
make
diagram.
sure. I was trying to make sure I found like butcher shop type things and not
Right.
like
Not in the field.
serial
Mhm.
killer type things. Yeah.
Heard.
Yeah. So we'll continue to promote the doc. Super excited. I can't wait to see it. Obviously anytime you need anything promoted or posted, we're happy to do it. I'm really happy and excited for people to see it. As far as the Jaws franchise in general, I thought it'd be kind of a fun, quick discussion. I mean, we just kind of went through this with Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters hit the 40th. And then you think about like everything's retrospective, like looking backwards at 40 years, the stories, the movies, everything. But then it quickly turns to like, well, what's next? Right? Ghostbusters is a little bit different. It's an
The
active
55th anniversary.
Right,
That's
right.
what's next.
but I do wonder for Jaws, like what does the future like? I think it's probably safe to say there's not going to be any more Jaws movies, probably, hopefully. But like, do you get a sense from like whether it's the filmmaking community or the collecting community? Like, there's obviously like a lot of buzz around Jaws right now just because it's the 50th. But what does the next 10 years of the Jaws fandom look like, or is the world too unpredictable that we don't even know what next week's going to look like for anybody? That's what it feels like to me. So
Jacob can take that question first.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's a little different with Jaws than it is with something like Ghostbusters or
right,
anything else because Jaws is one of the only films that, like, not counting the fact that it does have 3 sequels, it feels like the thing that we have all, the only thing that this country, that this world has been able to come together on is that
and agree
Jaws
Yeah.
is okay being like an untouched thing as
Right.
far as like more movies or media or anything like that. So to me, I just think it's just going to be more of what we have now. It's more like celebrating. I think like there were a lot of people on Martha's Vineyard for these Jaws celebrations. Like
Sure.
it was pretty crazy. Not that I was there, but I've seen a lot of photos, and I just think like getting more things like these documentaries that are kind of fill in the space around Jaws, or books, or we're getting so many toys and collectibles right now, and Universal Studios doing these big like celebrations. I just don't ever want to see that kind of stuff end.
right.
And I don't think it will.
I think one of the things that's kind of interesting, just to piggyback off what Jacob said, and I think about this stuff a lot, and I have for years, is sort of like the power of place. And I think like the fact that people can go to Martha's Vineyard and be in the place where it was
Right.
made. I mean, no
Yeah.
different than the firehouse for Ghostbusters. I mean, there are certain films that, there's a community around, but then there's also a place for them to gather and congregate and be in the movie,
Right.
in so many ways. And I think as long as people are going to Martha's Vineyard, that's going to be the reality,
Yeah.
It is for me anyway, because that's always been my thing since I was a kid. That's why I wanted to go to
Right.
the Vineyard, That's why I wanted to go see where The Exorcist was shot and
Right.
go to New York to see where Rosemary's Baby and Taxi. I mean, like stepping into a movie and being able to experience that, especially with other people. I mean, you guys have experienced that with Ghostbusters. I mean, the photos of just the crowds that amass outside the firehouse is incredible.
Yeah, and it's a bummer too when you start really thinking about it, because like we love going to these locations, especially for these seminal movies that are so important to us. Generations coming up aren't always going to have that unless they put like the
Practical.
volume in the middle of Los Angeles.
Stop filming on a soundstage.
Yeah. People are gonna be like in some warehouse, be like, "This is where they filmed Mandalorian." You're just in a
Yeah,
black
that's not
room
going to
with
happen.
green canister.
Yeah.
Playroom.
Yeah.
But John, I
Yeah.
think like there's even, I mean, that's literally one of my favorite things to do in the world. Anytime we travel, I'm like, okay, well, we have to stop here because they filmed something here, or
Right.
going to those locations is always my favorite thing. But the Jaws locations and Martha's Vineyard feels different. It feels like when you're on that ferry coming into the island, it feels like you go through like a bubble of magic, and the whole time you are there, the fact that most of it looks almost identical to the way it looked,
Right.
and just I don't know, man. I just feel like when we were on Martha's Vineyard this last time and met up with you, and it was just the whole thing. I don't know.
Yeah, there's something
it's literally
magical.
the best time. Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's different than going to like New York City to see locations in a way, just because like, I mean, we live in New England and you still feel like you have to work to get there. You got to get through the Cape traffic. You got to get on a boat. It's not easy.
Mhm.
And the fact that it is so beautiful, helps. Yeah.
And
there's
well
something-
preserved.
Yeah, totally. So there's something magical about it, So.
And now that I'm thinking, no, it is magical. And Abby, I know when we went, that was kind of part of it too. And it's like, also like you can think about it and like we've all seen Jaws, but when you're there, it's very much like, oh, this is actually really cool.
Mhm. There's very few locations that can completely transport you into like the middle of a movie, like where everything around you it hasn't been changed through time. It hasn't been updated. It's been preserved. Like I was saying, like that is a magical thing. I know we went to one of the Pizza Huts that has like an indoor location recently down in Florida, and that felt magical.
Classic. Yeah.
Yeah, classic. Exactly. But to be
They
able
didn't
to go
even
to
film a
an
movie
island-
there, but they could have.
We talked about
all they
filming
do
a
is
movie
make
there.
pizza.
They do it pretty well though. Yeah. So to have an entire place like a physical island that you can go to where it's like, holy shit, I am seeing and smelling and tasting all the my five senses are alive with Jaws stuff, and I love that.
It's time travel. It's all. And I wonder, we saw we all saw the new Jurassic World movie. John, have you seen it yet?
Not yet, but I'm planning on it. Yeah.
All right. Well, no spoilers, but we all enjoyed it. And we talked about this a little bit on our review, but I'm wondering if because it's very clearly a film that was at least maybe 60-70% made on location, I feel like that it's like an intangible that like you kind of subconsciously see as a moviegoer, where and also it was filmed on film. Like it kind of, I don't know. It just
I just love that we're doing our trying to interview John, and Craig's like, oh, I need to throw a shot about the Jurassic World.
No, I'm here for it.
No. But it all ties back to the conversation of location and stories, where modern filmmaking has really gotten so far away from that just in general. When we watch a Godzilla versus King Kong movie, it's like, I don't know, they look like they're inside a computer, so maybe that's where they are. But John, I think technically they are inside of a computer, but
yeah, you can't go and visit the core like for that kind of a thing, like from those movies. Yeah.
You want to, but you can't. But what I like about this documentary is like, it's not just location, it's the actual people. And those are stories that often probably get lost in time. Or John, as you were doing research and interviewing family members and stuff like that, were they surprised at all that people, or that you were taking such an interest in it?
I don't think so. I mean, I think Kristen, his daughter, she's written a book about Craig, which you should check out. It's back in print. It's called Craig Kingsbury Talking. Because that's what he'd pick up the phone at his house and he'd say, Craig Kingsbury Talking. So she named the book after that, and it's,
I love
it's,
that.
It's stories and interviews all about Craig, and I think the family was really happy that we were doing this, but I don't think that they were surprised, because they know how colorful and eccentric and wild he was, and he lived 10 lives in one life. So it's been, funnily enough, the challenge isn't just how to take all the material that we already had, the pre-existing material, to find the story. It was also, how do you then take this guy's life which could be 10 documentaries.
Mhm.
The book is exactly that, and whittle that down into something that's like digestible for a viewer. So there was no shortage of material, and like I said, it's taken a village. I mean, Jim Beller, Rick, Matt Spry. It's a village. It's getting edited in the UK. We've got a team in the UK working on it with us, and it's been a wild journey. But I think the family was thrilled that we were doing it, and Jim and I went and visited his daughter a couple of weeks ago and showed her a little bit of it, and
Oh, cool.
she was in tears.
Yeah.
So it's great. It's a lot of pressure, even more pressure not to screw it up. There's a lot of people that are excited about it, and so you want to stick the landing. But it feels right. It feels like we've got a good story, and we're just.
Well, also, that's a lot of trust that she is putting into you and your
Tell me
team,
about it.
right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, you
And the
could.
family opened their home to us. I mean, the family archives 8mm footage, family photos going back
so
to the
awesome.
20s, boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff that I've been sort of borrowing and scanning and for a year now. And
I don't have anything. My family's oldest heirloom is from like 2001.
Yeah.
That's so fun. That's like a treasure hunt. Like you go to their
Yeah.
home and you're finding all this stuff. That's so.
Yeah.
Was any cool stories like just like digging through and find like even if you can't reveal what it was because we'll probably see it in the documentary, just like coming across something and be like, oh, this is kind of a game changer.
Yeah, well, Craig was a doodler, and so we came across tons and tons and tons of pictures that he drew over the years.
That's
So
awesome.
that felt like a tangible connection to him in a way that we didn't expect. It just all kinds of stuff. And Kristen, his daughter, is very similar to my dad in that she's sort of the de facto family historian. So she shot all the home movies. She shot all the stuff. She kept all the stuff. She's been working on the family genealogy. And so that really resonated with me. And there's just a trove of stuff. I mean, they always say that like films and especially documentary film, it's like you're killing your babies every time you're editing because there's stuff that you want that's like, I don't want to lose that.
Yeah.
So, that's been the process too. But it's been an embarrassment of riches, not just of Craig stuff, but of Jaws stuff too. I think Jaws fans are going to flip when they see what we have.
That's so cool. I'm getting like chills.
Not to like overhype it, but I think we
want to see your videos of you flipping when you watch this movie. I did 3 backflips. Hey, you know what's crazy? No, go for it, Jake.
No, I was just going to say, like, it's also really exciting to know, like, it's exciting for me just based on the small amount of the stuff that I've seen from the documentary, knowing that people who are big Jaws fans but only know Craig from Jaws are going to see all of this really great stuff of him. Because, like, I mean, yeah, the documentary is getting made, so we already know this, but like he was a character. Like he was maybe the coolest guy ever. So it's going to be awesome to be able to like.
I mean, yeah, I think Abby and I were talking about this last time we watched Jaws, but it's like to just be a guy who's a local legend living on the island and then, oh yeah, I'm a good actor. I could just act. And like, I mean, he's barely in the, he's in the his couple pieces of dialogue. He's like, I'm like, oh, what character actor is this? Like, what other films can I find him in?
Yeah,
he's batting 1,000. Like, that's awesome. And I wonder if he, like, well, I guess I'll watch the documentary. Like, I just wonder how do you react to that? Like, I think different types of people would have different reactions to that. I think to somebody like me, I would immediately be like, well, I have to move to Hollywood and leave this all behind. Goodbye, everybody. But I have a feeling Craig didn't do that.
Small sliver of his life, right?
Yeah.
Craig didn't do that. No.
Yeah.
So.
I'm really excited about that because and like when he's on screen, like even just like the way he delivers like his dialogue and by the way, that's like the entire movie of Jaws. It's so transformational from a time of like it's acted in a different way. It doesn't even feel like the same kind of movie as a lot of its contemporaries, and I think that's why Jaws has such a timeless
totally I mean,
feel
it's
to
been
it.
well documented. Like the selectmen in the town hall scene were like mostly the real
Yeah.
town selectmen. I mean, there's an authenticity that permeates through the film that you almost don't even realize is happening at the time when you're watching it, but it's there. And I think against the backdrop of being in the real place,
Right.
you can't recreate that on a stage.
It's awesome.
So.
The Farmer and the Shark coming soon. The new Jaws documentary from John and
Jaws
John.
adjacent documentary.
Jaws adjacent. No, it's Jaws. It's Jaws. John, who can we shout out from your team that you want to give some public flowers to?
First and foremost, Jim Beller, my dear friend, producer on this, collector, Jaws historian, Rick DiGregorio, writer with me, Matt Spry, a writer, Eastwood Allen in the UK, who's doing our motion graphics, Jay Espendola, who's editing it, Matt Cannon, who's doing the music, Mike Nixon, who's doing the animations of Jacob's beautiful illustrations, Jacob for his beautiful illustrations, all of our spouses and friends that have stuck with us for almost a decade. There's not enough time,
Right.
but it's
That's
taken
so
a village.
awesome, man.
Mhm.
That is so awesome. Jacob, anything else specifically on the doc?
No, I'm just like, I mean, again, like I'm so happy to be able to be in a position to like, first of all, just know and be your friend, John, and like get to be a little bit of a part of it. It's such a cool thing to literally Jaws is my favorite thing. Like I know we do a podcast about Ghostbusters all the time. Jaws is it's up here. It's Jaws is my favorite thing. So like to be able to go from like I don't know anybody in this community to like I'm working on a documentary now. Like it's just great. And the documentary, like whether I was working on it or not, I would be super
Right.
hyped on it. It's going to be great, and I'm just very excited to see it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
John, you we talked earlier about foot on the gas, always working. Do you have your next project twirling around in the back of your head?
Well, we've had a sort of a lost Bigfoot doc that's been in the
Oh,
works
right.
for years,
Mm-hmm.
which is slow moving. It's getting there. But other
Cool.
than that, I'm actually hoping to take a little time off, which
Little
Yeah.
break, little family
I
time.
say that to my wife, and she just laughs and she's like, "Yeah."
Right.
But I really hope I can just take some time off. I feel so behind on movies
Sure.
and like books, and not having to live by that like running list of stuff I've got to get to and check off. So the hope is that I can just take some time off and just chill out for a bit. And
Yeah.
That sounds
not
awesome.
something.
Yeah.
So,
Dude, maybe you should go check out. There's this really cool place called Martha's Vineyard.
Oh yeah. You can
Yeah, I can
relax
go.
there.
R&R there. Yeah.
go find a hammock and just that sounds good.
Yeah.
Hey, remember when I stubbed my toe and there was bleeding everywhere?
I do remember
Oh
that.
my god.
Guess
Oh,
what?
yeah, you were
I
there
think
for
about
that.
it every day.
Oh yeah, I was there for that.
Hey, Abby, want to tell him?
It happened again today at Target.
Buy some shoes.
Buy some better shoes.
I was getting in
Oh,
Abby's
no.
car and I ripped off my big toenail
Oh,
halfway
Stop.
on her.
Mhm.
What
This
is
has
those
been
things?
such a good episode.
This
The
has
gas
been great.
I was trying to put the foot on the gas. It's my big
Yeah.
metaphor.
Oh,
Hey, it hurt.
no.
It hurt, but I'm fine.
He's
I
You
will say
lost
this.
The nail? The nail's gone?
No. It's like about a quarter of it came off. But I will say this. It was the
Mhm.
one in Martha's Vineyard was way worse. That was like
Yeah.
literally bleeding. And I felt bad because we were hungry. And I was like, well, we got to eat lunch. I'll just die here on the streets of Martha's Vineyard. Hell, I
Oh,
won't be the first citizen to ever. Although you usually get attacked by a shark there, not a sidewalk. So
I'm
it's
gonna
different
draw
for
it.
me.
We're gonna add it to the doc.
It's going to be the
End
new
credit
scene.
sequence. End
Illustrated.
credit sequence. Well, so then to get a redo of your question, once this is done, I'm gonna buy you some nice boots and mail them
There
to
you go.
Some
Georgia.
boots. Yeah.
So
Some
thoughtful.
military grade seal too.
Some steel-toed construction boots.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll still figure out a way to hurt myself.
You'll still wear flip flops.
I'll wear those with flip flops. Abby, anything else before we sign off with John here?
I'm just looking forward to seeing this documentary, and I really appreciate you doing what you do, and preserving things that might get forgotten otherwise. I think it's really cool, and I love Jaws. Been super into it this month in particular. Really excited about the 50th, and I just think it's cool that there's something new out there. There's a new piece of content coming out that has a lot of love put into it, that Jaws fans can watch. I think that's fantastic. So thank you, John.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. And I'm sorry Jim couldn't be here. He's a little under the weather, so please send Jim some love.
Totally cool.
We'll send Jim some love.
I should catch up with him separately, talk about toys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get him. We're gonna get him on. I was talking to him this morning. We're gonna get him on at some point.
Yeah, and so The Farmer and the Shark. It's going to be premiering at the Martha's Vineyard Museum in just a few short. This year's going by so fast. So John, I'm sure a few short weeks, and then you guys will have more premieres in Rhode Island and in Boston, and then everybody keep your ears out for further distribution and hopefully theatrical viewings. And John, we'll catch up with you literally anytime you want. You're more than welcome to join us. Hey, John, I'm gonna log off, but hang on for 1 second so we can do like a 45-second goodbye off air. But for everybody watching, thank you for being here for this special edition, this John Campopiano edition of Yes Have Some Podcast. We'll be back this week with more episodes. We've got Toy Anxiety. Jake, you've got G-Fest. Abby and I are going to be out in LA this Saturday for the Real Ghostbusters book signing.
Forgot about that.
The book comes out tomorrow. We'll be talking about it on Toy Anxiety. It's so much
tomorrow.
Yeah. Dark Horse has not sent me my advanced copies, so I don't order one off Amazon. Hopefully they deliver it.
Guess I'll buy
it. But more than anything, John, I love your work. And your passion is infectious, and I'm so happy to spread the word. So,
thanks, guys.
We'll see everybody tomorrow on Toy Anxiety, and we'll be back next week with more Yes Have Some podcast. I posted our complete July schedule on Instagram, and as Troy Benjamin said, I'm exhausted just looking at this.
Stressful.
One last thing. This Wednesday night, Jacob, you'll be traveling, but Chris Stewart and Troy Benjamin are coming back on YHS.
Hold up. I'm going to miss Chris and Troy.
It's a cross-rep reunion.
That's
Only
not
we
fair.
could pull it off. And we're going to be talking about Real Ghostbusters and who else knows. Maybe auctions, because Chris Stewart's selling his collection. All right, everybody. Abby, give us the final word.
Long live Jaws. It's a great movie. Go watch it. Go to Martha's Vineyard if you can. Read the book. Watch the documentary. Become a part of the community. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do all those things in that order. All right. See everybody next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.